I never thought I'd end up staring down the barrel of a cop's gun in my own driveway. All because I wanted to wash my car. She poured hot coffee all over my Ferrari, screamed that I attacked her, and called 911 pretending to be the victim. What she didn't know was that I'm a cop too. It started out like any perfect Saturday morning, the kind that feels like life's reward for surviving a brutal week. The sky was that early fall blue, crisp air sunshine hitting just right. I had the day off, a rare miracle in my line of work. I made real coffee for once, not that sludge from the precinct, and rolled my red Ferrari 488 GTB into the driveway. Yeah, I know it's a ridiculous car, flashy, loud, unapologetic, but I worked every extra shift, every off-duty gig to buy that thing. To me, it wasn't just a car, it was proof. Proof that a black kid from the wrong side of the tracks could make it. I had music playing Al Green, humming through a little speaker soap bubbling on the hood, the sun gleaming off the paint like liquid fire. I was happy at peace. And then I saw her. Karen Dalton. Blonde, helmet hair pink, tracksuit, permanent scowl. President of the Maple Ridge HOA, the self-proclaimed gatekeeper of neighborhood standards. The kind of woman who polices the height of your mailbox like it's national security. I'd seen her around, giving me those thin-lipped looks. Never said a word, but I could feel it, the quiet disapproval, the unspoken question. How can someone like him afford to live here? That morning, she came marching down the sidewalk, clutching her giant stainless mug like it was a trophy. Her eyes locked onto my car, her expression twisted up like she smelled something foul. I tried to ignore it, kept wiping down the hood. But she stopped right at the edge of my driveway, took a long, slow sip, and said loud enough for the whole street to hear, "You people are like animals, marking your territory. Is this how you act in the jungle you came from?" The words hit me like a slap. For a second, I couldn't even process it. My brain was still in the rhythm of soap, rinse, repeat. But the furnace inside me flared open. I put the mitt down, looked her dead in the eye, and said quietly, "What did you just say?" She didn't flinch. Just smirked. That smirk, tight, smug, knowing she could say whatever she wanted and walk away clean. And then, like some bad sitcom, she tripped. Slow motion. The mug flew out of her hand, the lid popped off, and a full wave of hot coffee splashed across my passenger door. It hissed on the metal, dripping down like muddy rain. "Oh, oops," she said with that fake gasp. I stood there, jaw tight, hands shaking. I could feel my pulse in my temples. "You did that on purpose," I said. My voice came out calm, too calm. "I most certainly did not," she snapped. "It was an accident, and there's no need to be so aggressive." There it was, the word. Aggressive, the trigger word. Suddenly the villain became the victim, and I became the threat. I took one step forward, not close, just enough for her to see I wasn't backing down. "You deliberately damaged my property, ma'am. You're lucky I'm keeping this civil. We can handle it like adults," or her eyes lit up wide and fake. "Are you threatening me?" she said, clutching her chest like I'd just pulled a weapon. "Oh, you picked the wrong woman." Then she pulled out her phone. "I'm calling the police. I'm telling them there's a violent man threatening me in my neighborhood." For a second, I froze. My training kicked in years of seeing exactly how this kind of story plays out. My word versus hers. And I already knew whose story would be believed first. I pulled out my own phone and called my sergeant. "Sarge, it's Harris. Got a situation. Woman just vandalized my car, and now she's calling 911 saying I'm threatening her." He groaned. "You've got to be kidding me." I wish I was. "I'm on my way. Don't engage. Don't move." By the time I hung up, I could already hear sirens. She was pacing now, phone to her ear. Tears suddenly flowing. "Help me. Please, help me. He's huge. He's screaming. I think he's on drugs." Her voice cracked like she was auditioning for an Oscar. She even backed away, putting space between us like I was advancing on her. "He's trying to rob me." I just stood there motionless, leaning on the hood of my car, watching her spin her web. The sirens got louder. Then the scream. God, that scream piercing theatrical. She collapsed onto my lawn, clutched her knee, and wailed. He kicked me. Oh God, he broke my knee. 2 patrol cars screeched up. Officers jumped out, guns half drawn. one young, jittery hand on his holster. "Show me your hands," he yelled. I raised them instantly. "Officer, it's not what it looks like. She's hurt," the other officer shouted, running to Karen, who was now sobbing like she'd seen combat. "He attacked me. He's crazy. Please." Every word twisted the knife deeper. My stomach sank. They looked at her, then at me, the big black guy next to a Ferrari, and I saw the decision forming behind their eyes. I went to my knees, slow, careful. Gravel dug into my skin. Humiliation burned hotter than the sun. And then a familiar sound. A deep engine rumble. My sergeant's SUV pulled up smooth and fast. The doors opened. Sergeant Daniels stepped out. Big man, bald head, calm authority radiating off him like heat. He took one look at the chaos, me on my knees, two civilians screaming, one rookie ready to draw, and said, "Everybody freeze." Silence. Then, in that slow, dangerous tone only he could pull off, he asked the young cop, "Son, what the hell do you think you're doing to my detective?" The rookie's face drained of color. "Detective." "That's right," Daniels said. "Detective Marcus Harris. You're kneeling on one of your own." Karen's sobbing cut off mid-fake cry. You could almost see her brain short-circuit. She looked at me, realization dawning, horror replacing the smugness. Daniels turned, pointed up at my porch. "You see that camera records in 4K? Audio, too. So, unless my detective here learned to kick people from 50 feet away without moving, I suggest you stand her up and cuff her." The air went out of her like a deflating balloon. The rookie helped me up, stammering apologies. The other officer stood frozen, unsure what to say. Daniels didn't raise his voice again. He didn't need to. "All three of you," he said, pointing at Karen, her husband, who had just stormed in shouting, and their son, who was revving his truck like an idiot. "You're under arrest for vandalism, assault, and filing a false report." Karen tried one last time. "My husband is a very important man. You'll regret this." Daniels smiled thinly. "Lady, you're about to regret a lot more than this." They took her away, cuffed, mascara streaking down her cheeks. And for a moment, standing there, I thought it was over. But it wasn't. 2 days later, I got the call from a lawyer. "Detective Harris," he said smoothly. "I represent the Daltons. My clients are considering legal action for the emotional distress you caused." I laughed, out loud. Emotional distress. They vandalized my car, attacked me, lied to police. "Video can be misleading," he cut in. "From our perspective, you used your position as an officer to intimidate a woman." He was laying the groundwork for a smear campaign. And sure enough, the next morning Internal Affairs called me in. I sat in a gray room for 2 hours, explaining every second of what happened to a lieutenant who looked like he'd rather be anywhere else. Every decision I made, every word I said was dissected like I was on trial. "Why didn't you walk away? Did you use your authority to threaten her? Did you identify yourself as a police officer?" By the end, I felt hollow, angry, questioning myself. Maybe I should have ignored her. Maybe I should have just gone inside and pretended I didn't hear. Was I the problem for standing up for myself? That thought haunted me, until the call came from the DA's office. Detective Harris said, "ADA Chen." Sharp voice, no nonsense. "I've reviewed the footage. Let's just say they documented their own downfall beautifully. I'm offering a plea felony vandalism false report and 2 counts of assault. They pay restitution 10-year restraining order. If they refuse, we go to trial and I'll bury them with that video." 24 hours later, she called again. They took the deal. I didn't celebrate. I didn't cheer. I just sat there, finally exhaling the breath I'd been holding since that morning. A week later, I went to the plea hearing. Karen, her husband, and her son looked nothing like the arrogant family who'd screamed on my lawn. They were gray, small beaten. When she stood up and admitted to filing a false report, her voice cracked. The judge said, "Your behavior was an assault on truth itself," and slammed the gavel. That was it. Justice. When I got home, I looked at the new section of fence I'd had rebuilt, the Ferrari gleaming under the sun again. Across the street, a for sale sign stood in front of the Daltons' house. They couldn't handle the shame. They were moving out. A neighbor, Mrs. Gable, sweet older lady, walked over. She said softly, "We saw what she did. We're glad you stayed. People like her poison a place." For the first time in weeks, I smiled. I went back to washing my car. Same bucket, same soap, same Al Green. The sun hit the paint just right, and for the first time since that nightmare, I felt at peace again. She wanted to make me feel like I didn't belong. But in the end, she's the one who had to leave. And if there's one thing I learned from all this, it's that truth always shines brighter than hate.